I guess hello world, huh?
Amazing. He's done it.
First and foremost, we wish Tiger the very best possible outcome. Our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family. The news reports are a little bit off the mark and definitely offer little insight into the crash. What we're going to dive into is what the police said, what Tiger would have seen leading right up to the crash, how this could have happened, and what saved Tiger's life. As we jump into this video, would love to thank Daily Advance Madden, the world's #1 connected franchise mode. We can't thank them enough for the financial contributions to see-through education for young drivers. Most every news report is going to falsely claim that the collision occurred at the intersection of Black Horse Road and Hawthorne Boulevard. Given the subject I teach and my relationship with traffic collision analysts, I wondered what were the circumstances leading up to this crash and where could it have happened. When looking at the map, I'm looking for more intense changes of directions, sharper angles to the curves. Now, police stated that the speed limit on Hawthorne in the area that Tiger was traveling is 45 miles an hour for those of whom who are metric. That's 72 kilometers an hour. They also stated that there are changes in elevation and Tiger would have been downhill just prior to losing control. It is stated in the file that Tiger, who lost control, went over the median, across 2 lanes, and into the far left-hand side brush. When looking for the sharpest curves where with speed inertia could take you across the median over into the far side, there appeared to be 3 possibilities. The large green X represents where most news outlets have reported that the collision had taken place. The black X's represent the 3 sharpest curves where the collision also did not occur. The exact position where Tiger's car ultimately comes to rest is marked by this red X, and you will notice that is not the sharpest curve in the immediate area. But what it does represent is the longest straightaway leading up to any level of curve. This is the exact path Tiger would have traveled on the morning of Tuesday, February 23rd. Here is aerial footage of what it would look like if Tiger left the road, then traveled 100 feet to rest, which is 30 meters. Police report that Tiger traveled several hundred feet before coming to rest. This photo illustrates if Tiger had bounced off a median tree and more directly to the left. This angle represents if Tiger was to leave the roadway from about 200 feet. Note there are some substantial trees he'd have to clear and travel through. If Tiger was to leave the roadway from 300 feet, he would not have any trees in the median boulevard to clear. However, it would be quite substantial the path he'd have to travel through to get to that resting point. So as Tiger travels through Black Horse Road and continues on his journey, the sharpest curve would be in this vicinity right here. He then rounds this curve onto a longer straightaway. And when he reaches this straightaway, is able to build up more speed and probably has a semblance of more comfort given the lighter angle. Now, this is exactly where, from 300 feet, this is where Tiger would have left the roadway. Now, the position, we'll fast forward here. The position that his car ultimately comes to rest is right in this vicinity right here. Now, from 300 feet, he would have traveled anywhere between this median, across this median, somewhere in this vicinity, and then traveled to this point here. That's from 300 feet. If it was from 200 feet, you'd have to assume that he would have cleared right in here, in that if he was to have struck these trees, he doesn't make it all the way to here. Now, at this point, he travels through, loses control, and might, if he didn't travel through this side, he then most likely could have traveled right through this portion here and come to rest here. Again, there's some substantial stuff to get through right there. Now, a third possibility, although police said he traveled several hundred feet, is that from 100 feet away, he traveled and lost control right here and then went over the median and finished here. And that would be less than 100 feet, but about 100 feet. So again, 100 feet, 200 feet, 300 feet, and police say he traveled several hundred feet. So the good fortune of not having any oncoming traffic at the time that he was to cross that median, coupled with the angle of whatever tree he struck at some point, must have been off-centered enough and enough of a grazing blow that it was survivable. And that's part of how we survive crashes. The key in a crash is, how does your vehicle decelerate? How does your body decelerate? If somebody at full speed or greater came up to this point here and struck this tree directly and did not follow through, and they became immediately stopped here, that's a great change in speed and very hard for humans to absorb. If it was that he comes through here, makes contact with a tree, but it's again a glancing blow where he's redirected, where he is slowing over time and ultimately comes to rest over here. Now, the other factor is he rolled over at least once, and looking at the damage, it does not look like a sideways roll. It literally might be that Tiger went end over end when he left the ground, which is less common, very dangerous, and you might wonder, how did he survive this crash? When you look at the surface of Hawthorne Boulevard, you're going to find a plethora of brake marks and skid marks throughout. This is the street level view that Tiger would have seen if he left the roadway from 300 feet. So he would have either left in that opening to the median or just over the lighter brush of this median. That would be if he left from 300 feet. His path of travel would be from here up until the mouse. So from this point here up to the mouse, and that is where he comes to rest. That's a lot to get through on the far side of the boulevard. Now, if he was to leave the roadway from 200 feet, his path would look something more along the lines of this. Again, there's still trees to get through. Whereas if he was redirected on the most proximate tree to his resting position, that seems somewhat plausible, except police said it was from several hundred feet. The car that Tiger was driving was a Hyundai Genesis SUV, and it did its job. It is designed to crumple the front end, absorb impact over a longer period of time, while maintaining a safety cage that has no intrusion to the passenger compartment. Whereas when you look at this vehicle, see how, yes, the front end has crumpled, but there is intrusion to the passenger compartment, and surviving a crash like this is much more difficult. Police say that Tiger's very lucky to be alive, and without a seatbelt, death would have been all but certain. It's important as a society to realize 97% of death in a crash could be avoided if we never speed, never are on our phones, always wear our seatbelt, and never drive impaired. Now, in many countries, it's mandatory that in a serious crash like this, a blood sample would be taken. Now, given the condition of Tiger having broken bones in both legs, as well as a shattered ankle, you would assume that treating those injuries would be paramount. But I trust that at some point, as soon as possible, a blood sample was taken. It's important to note that Tiger was conscious, and police at the scene do not believe alcohol was a factor. Most vehicles will have an available data event recorder to let us know what was the speed of that vehicle traveling prior to losing control, as well as the steering input and which pedals were applied and when. Records indicate that there were no brake or skid marks at the scene. A review of cell phone records would be performed to understand activity prior to the collision. Now, golf, like driving, requires skill, focus, and attention. And sometimes it's just a game of inches, and an inch can make all the difference in the world. and I'm very thankful that Tiger was able to escape with his life. Tiger, prior to this collision, has had a minimum of 5 known back surgeries. As an avid fan of his, I wish him the speediest and fullest of recoveries. Thankful that nobody has lost their life in this circumstance. And again, as a society, what can we learn from this collision? Absolutely nobody is untouchable or immortal. Every decision we make as a driver is going to count. Again, all my prayers, best thoughts, and wishes are with Tiger and his family, and I wish him the speediest and fullest of recoveries. For everybody at Corden Driving School, I'm Kevin McIsaac. Once again, would like to thank our sponsor, Daily Advance Madden, the world's best connected franchise mode. Thank you for watching. I hope you got something out of this video. Know that mainly we focus on learning driving for young drivers, safe practices all around. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And again, our paid partner who contributes greatly to helping us provide the education of young drivers, Daily Advance Madden, the world's #1 next-gen Madden connected franchise. Please visit the page KMac33, and if you enjoy Madden, I trust you'll love that page.